Hey everyone, it's Tiffany with False in the Budget. If you don't know me, I help new and small nonprofits get up and running. Every week I go live to share 3 grant opportunities and to just talk through grant writing questions. Whatever you have for me, I'm willing to walk through and help you demystify the grant process. So I'm just going to get right into it. We don't need to waste a lot of time. I'll just share with you really quickly if you're looking for free ways to find grants and you're not ready to pay for a service yet, I just went ahead and dropped in the comments this worksheet here. Check out my grants worksheet. It'll help you identify local funders in your area so that you can start there. It's always good to start in your local community to see who's funding programs in your geographic area. They're more likely to fund you because there's a connection to the work that you do simply because you're close to each other. So I always recommend you use that worksheet first to identify prospects, and you can do that for free. So I had one of my followers, she used it. She found over 100 potential funders. And again, it was all for free. Just takes a couple of hours for you to walk through that process for yourself and identify potential funders. And boom, you got it. So I'm going to share the first grant opportunity, and I'm going to drop the link here in the comments. I think I went out for a second. Let me know if you can hear me. Sorry about that. I don't know what happened. I just went out. So I'm going to drop a link in the comments. It is for the first grant opportunity. It is the Hearst Foundation. So every week I look for grants based on a certain theme. Okay, so I try to focus the work that I do. So this week's theme is older adults because it's really difficult to find grants for older adults. And I have a few followers who serve that population. Shout out to Lynn. So I just wanted to look and focus on that for this week in particular. I'm going to walk through the Hearst Foundation and just kind of explain what they fund. The Hearst Foundation apparently is split into 2 different foundations, but they operate together. So they fund a lot of different things. So when you see like references to them, it's plural. It's referencing 2 different foundations, but I think everything that they do is combined. So let me walk through some of the things that they fund because they fund a lot. Okay. So the first thing they do is education. You'll find that a lot of funders focus on education. It is the most popular funding category. So in their education portfolio, they focus on higher education, but they also fund what they call innovative models of early childhood and K-12 education and professional development. So they also do higher education scholarships and sometimes scholarships for post-ed. So they run the gamut. They fund programs and they also fund individuals since they do scholarships. So they also mention professional development. So if you have a model or a program that focuses on developing and building up teachers, that might be one for you. So if you know someone who could use this information, please feel free to share this video with them. And we'll go from there. So the next category is health. So this is the second most popular category of grants. Foundations, they assist with hospitals, medical centers, and specialized medical institutions providing access to high quality health care for low income populations. They give preference to professional development, programs improving access to high quality health care for low income populations, programs developing and providing specialized care for the complex needs of elderly populations, which is why I pulled this one out because they called out the elderly population. Programs that scale innovative healthcare delivery systems to provide efficient, coordinated care. They're using a lot of jargon, y'all. And research, particularly related to new cures and treatments for prevalent diseases such as cancer. Hey, if you're just joining me. So one thing I'll say about this is it's often good to study your funder and pay attention to the types of things that they fund. So if you see a funder that's willing to fund something like professional development, which isn't necessarily direct services in a sense, because it's not necessarily directed to your client. Anytime you see a funder that is willing to fund that kind of work, that signals, at least it signals to me, that they understand what it takes to run a good program. They understand you have to invest in staff and you have to develop those staff in order to get to good outcomes. So they will probably be more willing to fund things like infrastructure, to fund things that focus on staffing and not just direct costs. So when I approach them, I would focus my ask and think about my proposal in that way in particular. Because the fact that they mentioned um, efficiency, the fact that they mentioned development more than once in more than one of their funding categories just means to me that they know how good programs work and that they would invest in different things that you would put in place to make sure your programs run well. So that's just a signal. That's just a tip that I will throw out there. The other category that they fund is social services. So they fund organizations that look at the roots of chronic poverty, and these are their words, by applying effective solutions to the most challenging social and economic problems. Preference is given to affordable housing, job creation and training, youth development, and literacy. But they also, in limited cases, support organizations that focus on domestic abuse, sexual abuse, substance abuse, food delivery, and food banks. So they are pretty broad in what they look at. But again, pay attention to the words that they're using. They use the word efficient. So to me, it just sounds like they're interested in looking at programs that can show their impact. I would really highlight my data in the proposals. I would show how you put something in place to make your work more efficient and more effective. I would highlight those kinds of things in the proposal because it seems like that's something that is really of interest to them. So whether you realize it or not, they're basically giving you cues about how they operate sometimes and what they list. Okay. And then finally, culture is the last category that they fund. So they support cultural institutions that offer meaningful programs in the arts and sciences. So they said they prioritize those which enable engagement by young people and create a lasting and measurable impact. Their preference is given to artist development and training, arts education programs that address the lack of arts programming in K through 12, and then science education programs. So they threw in STEM in their culture area. So that's something that you might not have caught. So if you know someone who focuses on STEM, that's something to pay attention to. I've never seen it categorized that way, but they included it in culture. And again, they said words like measurable impact. So the fact that they're saying things about measuring impact, that means they probably value data. They probably value some kind of evaluation of your work. If you have anything that proves or shows that your work is good or impactful or has good outcomes from your individuals that you serve, I would definitely put that in any proposal that I had. So I just recommend you go and check them out because they fund a lot of different areas. They fund about 30%, which I think is pretty high, of the organizations that send in information to them. So I would definitely reach out to them and start building a relationship with them. All right. I'm going to, as I put the second opportunity in the chat box, I'm just going to also stop here for a second and do some definitions because I know that may be helpful. And if you have a question about a word that you don't understand or a process you don't understand with grants, I can explain that too. But I'm going to talk about unsolicited requests and what that means. So you may see on a funder's website, or even if you look through their tax form, you may see that they don't accept unsolicited requests. So that means they don't allow just anyone to submit proposals to them. They invite you to apply. And that could mean two different things. It could mean that you do have the potential to send like letters of intent or shorter proposals, and they then may invite you. They may do that. They may be willing and open to that. Some people do a lot of cold grant proposals where they just send stuff out to people, which I don't necessarily recommend, but it's a strategy that people use. Or it could just mean don't send anything because it's going to go in the trash and it's not going to be noticed. So I recommend if you're trying to get in front of a funder who doesn't take unsolicited requests, you pay attention to who's on their board and who's on their staff. So a lot of times their board members may be kind of too high level, people who are like in the class or in networks that you may not have access to. I don't mean to say it like that, but let's just be real. Sometimes you may not have access or be able to tap into those certain networks that their board members are a part of. So how do you get in front of them? I recommend you try to get in front of their staff. So a lot of staff, especially for organizations that have a lot of assets and have been around for a long time and are big foundations, their staff typically have been on staff for a long time because they're cushy jobs, they're nice jobs. They may know the field that they work in very well. Their name is probably out there. So I would get their names. I would see what boards or committees they sit on. I would see, are they tweeting about something? Are they putting out blogs on the website? What do they care about? What are they interested in? What are they passionate about? And try to appeal to whatever is interesting to the particular staff. This person would be either the program officer or maybe called a portfolio manager. A lot of times the way to get in front of funders is just to show good work, like somehow get in front of them. And you can do that in a variety of ways. You can do that by putting out information through blogs or op-eds or doing presentations on the work that you're doing and they happen to see it and they're interested in it. That's why I said, if you're interested in someone, identify what their needs are and what they really like and try to appeal to what they like. It's just a targeted approach and it does work because I do a lot of searches for national funders and they have a specific need. They're looking for a specific type of organization. And if you are clued in to what they're looking for, they'll pay more attention to you and they will actually reach out to you. And they may not even ask you to apply. Sometimes they reach out to you because they've been watching you for a while and just give you money. So it's always good to have a public profile, to always be updating your social media, updating your website, showing pictures, showing evidence of the work that you've done. So I just wanted to stop there and explain unsolicited requests for people who are confused about that process. Okay, so the next grant is Inspirity Corporate Contributions Program. So Inspirity is a company I've not really heard of before, but most companies I haven't heard of before I found their grants. But they only fund companies in their district market. So they fund in, let's see, 5 different areas. So they have pretty broad scope. I'm finding that a lot of the corporate foundations fund a lot of different things. They don't tend to limit what they fund. They pretty much keep it broad. So let me walk through what they fund and what the different categories are. The first category is health and human services. And the focus, which is interesting, includes home improvement projects in lower income neighborhoods, food drives for local food banks, and meal deliveries for the elderly. So again, that was flagged because of the elderly, and that was my theme for this week. It was kind of difficult to find some grants, but if you do meal delivery for the elderly, there you go. The other category is education. So their focus is on higher education and programs to support teachers, contribute to building tomorrow's workforce, and providing role models and mentors for students. So that also is a very, very, very broad category. I could see mentoring programs, I could see after school programs, workforce development programs. That's broader than what I usually see in the education category for funders. The other category that they fund is military and veterans. So the focus includes programs for those who have served or are currently serving. Animal welfare organizations is the next category. So humane societies, rescues, spay and neuter clinics, and animal-assisted therapy. And then finally, environment and conservation. So the focus includes cleanup and restoration for neighborhoods, green initiatives, waste reduction, and recycling. So if you do a lot of community development work, that seems like a pretty good grant to investigate. Again, they only fund in areas in their district markets, and you can go to their website. They also do a variety of things for support. So they don't do just grants. They also help with sponsorships. So they may provide a sponsorship for an event that you're doing, may be a sponsor, and also they give in-kind donations of equipment and furniture for nonprofits. So a lot of times grants aren't the only option to get support, especially for corporate programs or corporate foundations. So don't just stop at the grant. Also pay attention to what other kinds of support they may provide. All right. And in-kind, for people who don't know what that means, in-kind contributions or in-kind donations simply means non-cash. So people may donate goods or items. You'll see this a lot in food banks and coat drives, but people can also donate their time. People can donate space. So it's not just like tangible things like clothes or food. It could be space. It could be someone gives you space for free. Okay. And then the final grant that I'm going to talk through today is the Lennar Foundation. So I'm going to give you a little bit of homework for those who are watching so you can get used to doing this yourself. But I'm going to at least put the name of the foundation so you can see the spelling. So you guys, I don't know if in your area you have this builder, but they are home builders. The Lennar company, they build homes, at least in Maryland, I've seen. So they actually have a foundation. Just a tip that a lot of big companies, especially those focused on construction, utilities, banks, because they have a lot of money and they're needed services, banks aren't going to go away. And a lot of banks are required to give money anyway into their communities. Most of them have foundations, most of them have funds. So definitely check out the ones in your local area. Don't forget to do that. That is a key thing you should know. So they actually don't have any information on their website about their foundation. So if you go to the company website, you're not going to find much of anything, but I'm just going to go over the categories of what they do fund so you can have a sense of whether or not this works for you or if you can recommend this grant for someone else. So they focus grants on organizations that assist people who are less fortunate, their words, and that are providing these people with an avenue to enter into the mainstream of society. That wording throws me off, but I'm just going to leave that one alone. Seems like a little archaic how they frame things, less fortunate and mainstream, but it is what it is. So these are the specific areas that they fund: at-risk children and youth, elder care, which again this is why I flagged this grant and this funder, education, health, including medical research, affordable housing, social services, and hunger and homelessness. So I'm going to say that list one more time to make sure you got it. At-risk children and youth, elder care, education, health, including medical research, affordable housing, social services, and hunger and homelessness. So here's a tip if you don't know this already. If you are aware of a funder, but they don't have a website, then the best way to find information about how to submit to them is their 990 tax form. The 990 tax form is a public document. It should be easily discovered on the internet, but there are also search engines where you can look up Foundation's 990 forms. I use the 990 Finder at candid.org, but you can use other websites too, but I use their 990 Finder. Just Google 990 Finder and it'll come up. And you can search by name and by location, and you can find the 990 tax form. That is how you're going to find out information about this foundation in particular, because they don't have a website. All right. So what you need to do to submit a request to this foundation in particular is just to send a letter along with your 501c3 letter to Marshall Ames, which is their main contact. So Marshall Ames, AMES, at their foundation's address. They don't want an email. They want what appears to be something sent in postal mail because they don't provide any email addresses from what I could see from my quick look in the 990 form. So my homework for you is for you to find their 990 form and for you to look it up and find their address and their information in the form. It is not difficult at all to find out and to just discover who works for them, like who are the top people who get the most money, who work for them, who's on their board, and who they have funded in the past and the amounts that they have given in the past. That is really, really valuable information, especially when you can't find anything on a funder online. Okay. So that's it, y'all. I am done. I always provide 3 grant opportunities every week. I'll be going back. I'll be coming back again next Tuesday. Actually, you know what, guys? I don't know if I will be here next Tuesday because I am opening my membership community and I will be sharing information and insights with my membership community. But whatever time that I choose to come back next week, I will drop a post or schedule it the day before. So if you follow me on YouTube, you'll see it. Also, if you're in my grant writing group, you will see it as well. I'm going to drop the link to that. Every time I go live on YouTube, I just drop it in my Facebook group so people can see it and people can come watch. So that's the link for the Facebook group there for you on the screen. So thank y'all for watching. I hope you take advantage of those grant opportunities. If you know people who would find this information useful, don't forget to share this video with them and also to subscribe to my channel because I come live every week just so people can hear grant opportunities. So thank y'all for watching and I will see you next week.